Listen as your day unfolds, challenge with a few jolts. Try and keep your head up to the sky. All I know, love will save the day. I'm recording. Oh my god. Totally forgot about that. Wow. All right. Oh my god. All right, y'all. Look, last night was the things dreams are made of. You know me. I love a good cancellation because then the universe opens up, and open up it did. After Eddie and I's afternoon nap, or after Eddie and my afternoon. Always stumbles me every single fucking time. Anyways, after our afternoon nap, we headed over to Jill's in Cabbagetown and prepared to go grab some dinner at Hawker's. And then his daughter Heather called to say that she, Caleb, Chance, and Ant were on their way. Chance and Heather brought their doggos, and long story short, we went for a little walk along the Beltline with children in tow. Yesterday, I also called my dad to wish him a happy birthday and found out my nephew is back down there with them, which just fills me with happiness, as I love it when my nephew hangs out with them, and in turn I can hang out with him upon visit. I was telling Clorinda the other day about my 10-year plan, which I really hope includes children. Now, I haven't settled on the logistics of it yet, but in order to fund that endeavor, I need some feature films to make some profit. Or something. Look, your girl needs to get serious in 2021. But last night was just magical, with the grandbabies in tow, and why are you not doing things that you need to be doing? It just stopped scrolling. It stopped scrolling. Why? You were doing so well. I was so proud of you. And we just stopped. I don't even know where I was. And now I'm just, all I can think about is continuing to do that. But anyways, last night was just magical. With the grandbabies in tow along the Beltline, dogs in tow, sipping rosé at a pizza place that was just delicious. I can't remember the name of it because I was also really tipsy. Look, for me, Atlanta is reaching Parisian charm levels in its own intrinsic beauty. Perhaps at its core, both cities have revolutionary genii. We'll come back to that term in future episodes, because it's one of my favorite terms, and it makes me wish I'd stuck with Latin. Look, the only reason I didn't stick with it is a week into it, the teacher didn't explain the concept of conjugation, so once I switched out after she just sprung a test on us, and was like, conjugate these things, like, I don't know what are you trying to tell me here? And anyway, so I switched out and into Spanish. Finally grasped the concept of conjugation within a week, but it was too late to go back to Latin, but I digress. With all of this talk about relationships, let's talk about an Atlantic article that just came out yesterday. Raina Cohen titled, People Who Prioritize Friendship Over Romances. Look, the whole idea of romance and weddings really came out of the Victoria era, with Queen Victoria setting the standard for the white wedding dress and so on. Well, then De Beers came along and made up the whole 3-month salary for a wedding ring, which is really just rehashing the dowry idea into something more romantic. But I digress, because dowries. Look, marriages were and are still business contracts. Basically, men were selling their daughters, plain and simple. You wonder why women weren't allowed to have credit cards until the 70s here in America, or in the 90s in Spain, according to another article I read, where women were still considered property there until they changed the laws. Again, I digress. Friendships, marriage, romance. Before modern times, one was lucky that the person one married evolved into one's best friend. Perhaps that is why Victoria's standards still hold today. However, her circumstances were different. She was a reigning monarch, a queen, and was therefore able to choose her consort. Tradition dictated that she had to ask Prince Albert to marry her, as she was a monarch. She got to choose at a time in history when women were seldom able to choose their spouse. Never mind, settle for something as silly as love. Look, go watch The Duchess, not my movie, but the one with Keira Knightley, and then go watch Marie Antoinette with Kirsten Dunst, and I think that settles the whole idea of what are women allowed to do in marriage. Well, not really. Those are horrible examples, but whatever. I love both of those movies. Look, times are different. Oh, also, let's go back to my internet and count person. Look, all I can say is everybody needs a count person in their life. Sometimes they need a marriage. Who knows? Times are different. And we view marriage now as the end-all be-all. I found my soulmate, one and only for life right here, all wrapped up in this one person who will fill every single role ever. How exhausting and how limiting. Look, one person cannot fill all your needs. Not only that, it's incredibly unhealthy to both parties, and no one can fill those of your needs that you want. That's a different song. Anyways, whatever. Look, when I talked yesterday about how much I've changed and how grateful I am, I mentioned how much I discovered about myself when I entered into my relationship with Eddie. We're going on 12 years now? 11? 12. And while I don't want to discount the first 3 or 4 years, I was still discovering myself and then entered into a long-term relationship. And then this is just an adjustment most of us have to make as we enter different roles in our lives. Parenthood, work, what have you. Look, I was a hopeless romantic, but life is different. A young maiden inexperienced in love, allowing herself to be easily seduced. 1,000 points to Gryffindor or your house if you tell me that reference, and I'll give you one hint. Roland Barthes. I pronounced that horribly, but forgive me. I digress. Look, I struggle with how to define myself as someone. I struggled with how to define myself. Someone who had recently graduated college and trying to figure out what to do afterwards while in a relationship. Who was I? Who am I? What am I doing? I can honestly say after Eddie and after our big summer, there it goes again, my big summer of discontent, those questions started getting answered. I figured out that I did want to be an actor. I did want this relationship, and I grew up and figured out what I wanted in life. And our relationship changed, but also I put more effort into my friendships and stopped trying to make Eddie fit all of these roles in my life. And as easy as it sounds, just let Eddie be Eddie, let me be me, and let us be us. I put more effort into cultivating my friendships. I truly began cultivating them, I feel, differently than when I was growing up. And part of that was learning through therapy and acting classes and with Eddie of how to open up. I'm a Scorpio, it doesn't come naturally, and we've entered Scorpio season, so that's a whole other discussion. My therapist, after I made the comment of how my friendships changed after I started socially transitioning, I made the comment he asked me if my female friendships really were different than my friendships with my guy friends while I still presented male. And I told him yes. Unequivocally yes. I also added the addendum that I had the female mind while still entertaining those friendships, but yes, this transition would not be possible without the love and friendship and sisterhood and camaraderie of so many women in my life who, without saying a word, said, "I've got you." From the women at church, to the women in Critical Crop Top, to the women in acting communities in general, to just random encounters at the CVS where one lady and I bonded over sunscreen because we were both melanated, and sunscreen is just a tricky, fickle challenge. Even my cousin and I are reconnecting in a deeper way as adults. Like, we just had a full-on "I'ma cry, you gonna cry" over mimosas the other weekend. Part of this is part of me presenting authentically, but also it's friendships that I feel are more than friendships. And I see these relationships, and we've all seen these relationships in media, and not just related to women. Look, Sherlock Holmes and Watson, bromances, sisterhoods, they're all around these beautiful concepts of friendships that go beyond friendships. Look, okay, so bear with me here for a little bit, but in spirituality, you have the idea of your soulmate, and then there's also the concept of your twin flame, and the basic idea is that your soulmate is your complement, while the yin to your yang. But the twin flame is equally as important, and that it's your other spirit. Two are the same that were split. I'm doing an awful job of explaining that, but it's the gist. And also, there's this whole concept, too, in that where you don't just have one. You're not just one piece. We're all bigger pieces of the whole. So you can have more than one soulmate and more than one twin flame. And in talking about that, I am reminded of, this is going to sound really silly, so I'm not going to name any names, but way back in college, and my first real gay crush. I just knew in my mind we were going to be married and I'd planned this whole life together, and just one and only. That's the hopeless romantic that I was. And I remember him telling me, after not expressing any of this, that he didn't believe in the concept of soulmates, and I was just crushed. Like, how can you not believe in the concept of soulmates? Like, you're one and only, doing all these things for you ever, forever, never, never, all just contained in one person. But in looking back on it, okay, look, he was further ahead than I was, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, I'm rambling. I may or may not be making sense at this point, but all that to say, I love my friendship. That is the basis of my relationship with Eddie. The romance just adds a deeper relationship to it all. But I am equally as understanding of my friendships that transcend the normal definition of friends, or at least the usual concept of friends and BFFs. Look, in queer communities, we're used to building our own families and the importance of friendships over romantic relationships that come and go. I don't know what I'm talking about these days. I just literally feel like a love goddess reincarnate. Somehow I'm just full of love, and the way that Mandy Moore says it in Saved, but she says it with such antagonism and then tosses a book at someone and she's like, I'm filled with Christ's love for you. However, I just feel like I'm filled with love for all of you. So I hope you have friendships like that in your life. I truly do. Right? At this point, if my horsey was in here, I'd hop off of it, but I'm going to hop off my high horse and just say, enjoy this weekend. It's beautiful. I'm going to go have a birthday luncheon with my father tomorrow, and then meet my cousin for brunch on Sunday, and then later that evening do a lantern release for my departed friend John. It's all in a day's work of just bearing the lightness of being. I love you all, and until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Go have a bottle of wine or 7. Okay, don't do that, especially if you're not 21. Okay. Let's just see if we can do this the right way. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stick together. All I know, love will save the day.